All right, thank you. Now, number 80, I think that is Representative Farrar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I read the report a couple times, and it kept referring to hypothetical costs in Arkansas County. How was the projected cost of the per member per month expansion done? How did we come up with that base number?
That was done, and Ms. Day or Thompson may want to, it was done based on actuaries looking at really what market rates were, what types of clients we're going to have, age groups, level of disability, and they really tried to look at the population as best they could, which we didn't know exactly what it would be because they hadn't signed up yet, and made estimates on what that care would cost.
Well, now, I talked to the GAO also, and they said that Arkansas used the TANF population. And if we use the TANF population, how does that compare to the population that we insure now to the private health?
And we initially used them because we just didn't have a better comparison group. I mean, as you all know, we just don't, the regular Medicaid program just didn't really cover adults in Arkansas except for a very small population. So we had to look at kind of for a surrogate. And I think the TANF population was one of the first groups. I don't know. Somebody knows better than this one. But we were looking at, of our existing populations, who's closest. We knew it wasn't exact.
I would just add that the essential health benefit, which was what the benefit was projected on, did not exist at that time. So there were three different moving parts. What the benefit was going to cost, what the age spectrum was going to be that signed up, and what the provider rates would be required to actually achieve equal access under federal requirement.
But to develop budget neutrality, you had to have a base per month per member to start, right?
Right, and I think that's where the $477 per member per month that comes from. It's detailed in the waiver with a 4.7% increase each
So
year.
so the TANF population is not what you used to develop that 477 a month?
Not ultimately, no. That was kind of some initial estimates, but then Optimus went back at the actuarial firm and really dug into the market more so. And looked and talked to the carriers about what they thought. I mean, part of it was talking to the private sector about who would these people be and what's it going to cost to service.
When did Arkansas know that the private option was going to cost more than traditional Medicaid?
We would still argue that it won't. Because we would have had to expand, raise rates not only for the private option population, but for the hundreds of thousands of people who remain on the existing Medicaid program in order to get these people
But
served.
we did know that the traditional Medicaid, or private option was going to cost more than the traditional Medicaid. If we would have put everybody on traditional Medicaid, it would have been cheaper. When did we know that it would be more expensive to put them on private option?
Well, that's the discussion. We don't know that it would have been cheaper to have them on traditional. If you assume that we could add 200,000 adults and not have to raise rates, I mean, kind of if the laws of economics didn't work, that when you increase demand, it doesn't cause price to go up. If you make that assumption, then yes, it would be cheaper to serve them on Medicaid.
Right.
But we don't think that's correct.
Let me ask this to Dr. Thompson. When did you know that it was going to be?
I think early on, to expand to 225,000 people, there was going to be a demand curve. It's an economic demand curve that costs were going to go up. Then the secondary equation is, where do you want those costs to go up? To pay a higher rate to providers in the private option through the commercial sector with competition, or do you want it to be a higher rate across the entire Medicaid population with no competition? The discussions were pretty clear with the legislative leadership and members that you desire private, competitive price setting as opposed to an alternative that would have cost more.
Okay, but we did go in knowing that it was going to cost more. I guess I just want to yes or no.
Can you say it cost more than what?
The private option would cost more than just expanding traditional Medicaid.
No, so our argument to CMS, which they agreed with, was that it's reasonable to assume that it wouldn't. We don't know that. That's what we'll have to test over the 3 years.
One more question. The report also said that you had a test of cost effectiveness. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. The demonstration project, as HHS approved, is a one-of-a-kind approach to Medicaid expansion. Mr. Seelig mentioned the federal requirement that Medicaid beneficiaries have equal access to those that are in their same geographic area, to commercially insured individuals. we know that we have access problems in this state. So we have proposed that we will get better access, better care, better outcomes by using the private sector rather than by using the traditional Medicaid program. And that is the cost effectiveness test. We get better access, better treatment, and better outcomes over the cost of the program. That's the cost effectiveness test that the HHS agreed to and that we will be evaluating over the next 3 years.
Right, and you're saying exactly what HHS did. But how do you put a cost on churn and better health outcomes and increased competition?
At the end, actually, you'll get an interim report at the end of the second year, which I think will be the major decision report for your decisions on whether you extend this beyond in 2017. But you'll have if there's a benefit that has a cost associated with it, you'll get $1 per benefit. If there's a savings, it'll be a -$1 per benefit. And that's what you'll have in front of you in 2 years on this experimental demonstration of how we expand Medicaid in the private sector.